Live. Welcome to the TV Show Club podcast slash show review. I am Aaron Robinson.
I am James Reed.
Eric Ewing at you.
Salve, and my name is Adam Johnson.
There we go. We got the whole crew on. And before we get rolling, we're going to be reviewing Plebs, a British comedy set in ancient Rome. But we decided we wanted to kind of talk about where we all are in our own personal TV preferences. Whether it's a lot, a little, nothing, or something interesting. So let's go around the table. Jay, we call James Jay. So give us a rundown.
So I actually I've been watching a lot of the classic '90s NBC show Frasier lately. I've found that it's kind of the perfect show to watch as you're falling asleep.
Yes.
Because it's very kind of quiet, soothing, all kind of just silly misunderstandings. And the theme show is very kind of jangly and dreamlike. So I've been enjoying that. I also found that there is another show I used to watch back in the day called Gary Unmarried. I don't know if anybody has seen it.
I have never seen an episode, but I actually have run across it. So that's crazy.
It's a show that when it was on, I watched it and I loved it. And I think I was the only person who did, hence why it lasted one pretty okay season and then got canceled. But that's on Hulu. So if anybody out there is interested in a kind of under the radar show, I would say Gary Unmarried, Jay Moore, classic stuff. All right, so who's next?
Adam, give us a rundown.
Of Plebs?
No, of what you're watching. What are some shows that you've been watching or interested in? Or
I've been watching too much TV. I've been watching obviously Plebs. Been watching. Let's see, Party Down. Upon which I realized after deciding that we were going to watch that next, I've already seen most of it and just forgot. So what else?
You watched a bunch of Lucifer recently.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
How was Lucifer?
Surprisingly good. Surprisingly good. The main character is charismatic enough to be, the devil, but it has an interesting mythology. Very, what's the word?
John Milton-y.
Yeah, Paradise Lost-y. So,
Interesting.
If you're a fan of that kind of mythological type of stuff, then you will dig Lucifer. Funny words to say, but yeah, check that out. What else? No, that's about it. That's about it.
Very good. Well, what about you, Eric?
I've been watching a lot of movies actually lately.
Okay.
But,
anything that stands out?
The Martian was actually really good.
Really?
Martian
Hold on.
Really good.
The one with Mark Wahlberg? No, Mark Wahlberg.
It's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. Yeah.
Matt Damon.
Actually, very good. Neil deGrasse Tyson actually endorsed it for scientific accuracy.
I've heard that it's one of the most scientifically accurate Hollywood space movies that has been produced in the last.
And they did a really
Damn
good
time.
job. They did a really good job at not telephone boothing it. Telephone booth was just one static shot. You got bored halfway through just because the scenery never changed. But they did a really good job at having one isolated man as the main actor.
Yeah, I didn't know. I remember Telephone Booth now, and awful movie.
Colin Farrell in a telephone booth.
Not a horrible movie, but just the premise of it.
I mean, it was suspenseful, but that's about it.
Afterwards,
You can't leave. You can't leave this phone call or you die.
Yeah. You can't leave the spaceship or you die. You can't leave this room or you die. And so, that's
you can't leave this game or you die.
Isn't that Speed? Isn't that basically the premise of Speed?
There's a lot of or you die plot lines. So I mean,
anyway, so leave Mars or you die. They did a good job at not making it too isolated.
This time they wanted him to leave. Crazy.
So the Martian, the way you described it, just reminds me of one of my favorite sci-fi movies that doesn't get a lot of praise and doesn't get a lot of advertising. But Moon with Sam Rockwell is by far one of the best sci-fi movies.
You never finished.
We saw it in theaters together. We saw it in theaters together when I worked at AMC. I was like, "Hey, let's go see this movie." And me, you, and
like
we
indie
watched
movie
it.
release or something.
It was, dude. The Dirty 30 had so many weird movies. We had Korean movies. You know, they weren't even in English. No subtitles.
The booth guy was like, "Y'all really want to see the end?" And we all were like, "Nah."
No, Moon's fantastic, but it's another movie where it's just. I mean, Sam Rockwell's like the only actor in the.
You know
entire
another
movie.
awesome sci-fi movie? Space Cowboys.
What?
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna ignore that comment.
That's the shit.
This
We're
sounds
just-
like the ridiculous
Clint
Five.
Eastwood and
Yes.
like all the old men.
Yes.
And they find like Russian nukes in space.
This
Yes.
sounds like it
Spoiler
needs to be a.
And then
Adam
they shoot
Sandler
around the
movie.
moon, and they have to
This-
leave.
I'm
What's his
100%
name?
positive that this is the kind of movie that Adam watched with his parents, and that's why he thinks.
No, I went back and
But
rewatched it.
I love
Okay,
my
Adam.
mom and this movie.
All right. So let me say what I've been
Tommy Lee
watching.
Jones.
Hold on. I'm almost done.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Sorry.
I also watched the Golden Circle about 3 times. Not because I loved it so much, just because I fell asleep watching it.
Is it?
But
How
it's
can you
good.
say that? Golden
It's good.
Circle's Kingsman's amazing.
it's a good.
Kingsman's
It is very good. Kingsman is amazing. And then the TV show, just to bring it back to context of the show, I guess. I've been watching Angie Tribeca. Ugh,
Really?
Slapstick.
so
I
good
have no idea what that is.
with
It's
Rashida
Anne.
Jones.
It's Anne from Parks and Rec, and
Oh.
she's a police officer, but it's like Naked Gun style
Naked Gun. Oh, yeah.
slapstick. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is hardcore.
I think I've seen you watching a couple episodes of that because I've seen her in a police officer role. And
I've watched like 2 episodes. I like both of them, but it was like in a situation where I wasn't
What's
watching
the Andy
that kind
Samberg
of.
show?
Oh, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is
It's
one
kind
of
of
the
like
best.
Brooklyn
One
Nine-Nine
of the best.
in slapstick style.
They should just add that character to Brooklyn Nine-Nine because I think she
Wouldn't
does a
fit.
great job.
It wouldn't fit. Her
I think it
character.
would.
It's too ridiculous. Since you've not seen the show, your opinion is.
I've seen an episode with you.
Oh.
I remember it. I've seen her in the.
So anyways,
shows
shows that I've been
going
watching.
back to Kingsman.
Hold on. No, we're not going back to Kingsman.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Why not?
I'm going to talk about my
We're
show.
past that.
We're past that, Adam. It's not a movie podcast. It's a
No,
TV
that's
show
why I
podcast.
want to move on to the whiskey version, which I'm excited for.
Anyways,
We're gonna do a
for
whiskey
you.
podcast.
All right, we're all waiting for part 3 of Kingsman.
all right.
Oh,
So, anyways, what I haven't seen the second movie, so don't say anything, Adam. The shows that I've been watching, Altered Carbon, the new Netflix sci-fi show.
I've been
That's
wanting to watch
really interesting. It's got some really cool elements, sci-fi elements, interesting like cognitive stuff. I would say that this is definitely trying to go the HBO route, so it's like 30% violence and 30% nudity. But
So you're not saying it's not just Blade Runner?
no, well, it's just one of those things where you're like, now if it's a premium television, you have to expect tits. So this one is very nudity heavy, but
kind of like Black Mirror.
no, it's not. It's not like Black Mirror at all to me. The premise is that everyone gets implanted with this thing called a stack, and your mind, not your brain, but your mind is downloaded to this. And so, like, if your body is murdered, killed, gets sick, or whatever, you can be re-sleeved. Your mind can be re-sleeved into a new body. You're still you, but now the body is really just kind of like peripheral. It's just like a
Well,
thing
is
that
it
you can
all
get.
That
insurance?
sounds like the plot line to Surrogate with Bruce Willis.
So understand the difference between plot lines and settings. Those are completely different concepts. But the plot line
Yes,
is
they are.
actually a guy who's been alive for 360 years, supposedly locked himself in a room and committed suicide. But he's like the richest person in the world, and he doesn't believe he committed suicide. He has a thing called a needle upload, where like uploads his consciousness to like a place and reprints his body. So he's still alive. He just doesn't remember the time. So he resurrects a terrorist from 250 years ago to investigate what happened to him. So that's the kind of premise of the show. That's the plot. But it's
Well, is there any voyeurism in the or mishandling of the rebodying? Like,
Oh, yeah,
someone
like,
someone goes commits a murder and then
like
whatever,
okay,
or someone
here's an
goes
example.
does a
There was a
rave
girl.
and
There was a girl who was
pregnant.
killed in a hit and run.
Changes
There was a
rape.
girl who was killed in a hit and run. The law says that if she's murdered by conduct of someone criminally, that the state would pay for a new body for her. But the state doesn't have a lot of money, so it just gives whatever bodies they have available. And so the 6-year-old girl gets loaded into a 59-year-old woman's body
Oh, that sucks.
and turned back over to the family. And the family's like, "Hey, this isn't cool. This is our daughter was 6 years old." And they're like, "Well, pay for an upgrade." You know? So it definitely has a lot of the capitalistic elements of our society, and see how these things can kind of go crazy and weird. But really, really interesting show. Highly suggested. Other things I've been watching a lot of like the CW, DC universe shows like Flash, Archer, Green Arrow, whatever his name is, not Archer. Those are good. Those are fun. They're not.
I heard there's a new Marvel show coming out called Inhumans, right?
I've heard that Marvel has had just a terrible track record with TV shows, and I'm not really interested in any of them.
Fair enough. DC's definitely smashed TV shows while Marvel smashed movies.
Yeah,
Luke Cage was not bad. Luke Cage was not bad. It's a good basic show.
Who was the female Marvel one right before Luke Cage?
Jessica Jones.
Just
Yeah,
I couldn't
that's it.
stand Jessica Jones.
Yeah, me either.
I watched 2 episodes and I was just like, "This is garb."
It's just boring. It was just boring.
And I really like the actress. Like she was fantastic in Breaking Bad.
Have you guys heard of Ghosted?
Yeah, it's good. It's very good.
I want to watch that. I want to watch
That's
that. I haven't got to see any, but I'm seeing some good shit about it.
Yeah, we'll put that on the list. All right, and
Speaking of
last thing,
ghosts, go ahead.
sorry, last thing I started watching just recently, Norm Macdonald, which is one of my favorite anti-comics, has a podcast TV show, the Norm Macdonald Show. And I watched the first episode this weekend, and I laughed my ass off. What's great about it is that, number one, it's literally just Norm Macdonald, a dude, and then a guest sitting in a room. And the first guest they had was Super Dave, which is the guy who plays Marty Funkhauser on Curb Your Enthusiasm. And
Aaron, you're going full robot.
Oh. Well, is it still bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here, someone take over for a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so have you guys heard about Counterpart?
Negative.
Okay. So it's about this guy who's working at a spy agency who finds out that his government are housing this like alternate dimension portal, and he gets kind of sucked through. And it's supposed to be really good. It's got really good reviews, but it's only on Stars, so I'm not sure where I could like actually go watch that. But it looks pretty good. I like alternate dimension shows because, especially if they do it good. I don't know if you guys ever saw Fringe. That kind of fell off for me, but like at the start, it was pretty solid because it had mystery and intrigue. Plus, it was written and produced by what's his name, Lost director of
J.J.
Lost.
Abrams.
Yes, thank you. And like, I mean, you know, he's a good writer, but
Is an excellent writer.
yeah, that. But
No, but
what else?
I figured Aaron would be back in about 5 seconds. But speaking of ghosts, I'm trying to transition into actual plebs here, but I don't want to move on without Aaron.
Okay, let's just mention another show then. Black Lightning, new DC show. It's just Black Lightning.
Black
It's got some
Panther?
pretty good reviews. No. But I do want to see that. Do want to see Black Panther. I really loved his appearance in the Marvel movies, and I'm excited for his own.
I'm
show.
waiting to get triggered. I just want to watch Black Panther the entire way through to see if there's going to be any freaking political triggering,
Of course,
or
there
or
is.
if I can just enjoy a good superhero show that happens to have a darker color of skin than I do. It's going to be some freaking dear white people shit.
I mean, without going too far into politics, with the age we're in right now, you know there's going to be some.
The thing I
somewhere.
loved, the show that had the biggest opportunity, the movie that had the biggest opportunity to go dear white people was Get Out. Oh, it was so good. Get Out was so good.
That's the one where they.
I was waiting to be apologetic for my whiteness, The whole movie, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna feel really bad about being white after this.
I'm not. Those
Testing.
people are
Hello,
supposed to be
can you hear me?
fucking crazy.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we can hear
There
you
we go.
in your
Sorry,
side.
I had a weird little thing there when I put my mic back in. I could hear you guys, but I couldn't talk.
Gotcha.
weird.
We're looking to transition into plebs now.
Did you have
Yeah,
to?
I think we're good to get going.
Speaking of
Okay.
ghosts, did you know that there were ghosts back in the ancient days of ancient Rome? And speaking of Rome,
That was an iffy segue at best. But
Well done.
since
Well
we're
done.
here,
a segue.
salve, gentlemen.
Salve.
Salve.
Aaron on my screen. I don't know if it matches for anybody else, but you are up first, then Eric, then James, and then me. So why don't we
Do
just
we have
continue in that
a
order?
schedule?
Well, I'll kind of give my rundown of what I thought about it. So, first of all, I absolutely love period pieces, like Mad Men, like Downton Abbey. I know those are more serious, but this was fantastic because it was just plopped right down the middle of ancient Rome. I love that aspect of it. Number two, I love the trio buddy comedy style. Like three main characters that really are what the story is about, and then everything else is just kind of like ancillary to them. That's kind of the format of IT Crowd, Black Books, and I think it really worked well here with Plebs. All three characters, they were really unique in their own right. They had their own kind of wackiness. Um, and it was also kind of interesting with Grumio being the slave. Like we in America have been
Very bad connotations.
but yeah, slavery is a bad thing, and I'm not saying it is a good thing, but it's really interesting to see slavery as a normal thing in a society where it wasn't even like considered bad or good. It was just like this is the way things are. And Grumio wasn't a very good slave by by any means, but he seemed more like a friend that just kind of hung out all the time. Love Starlax. Starlax's ridiculous situations that he got himself into all the time. And then Marcus's whiny, like he was like the quintessential whiny British nerd guy. That's how I felt like they fit him in there. And probably my favorite bit in the entire thing was the Waterboy Waterman. Every
They
time
definitely kept that going.
every time that they fucking burned him on,
Waterman. And he was relentless.
he was relentless. But every time that they would get him saying something ridiculous, and then all of a sudden the boss would walk in,
Yes.
that was one of my favorite bits. I look forward to it every episode.
Because you knew it was coming a mile away,
Yeah,
but it was going to be good. And I especially love the one where they get the fire to replace the shredder, and then like the water man puts out the fire. But they break up the joke where like they refer to him as Water Boy before it breaks out, and they fire him, and he leaves. But he comes back and puts out the fire, and his heroic statement is, "What a man!"
I found it funny when they replaced him with the table, and then she trips on the table.
But fun fact about Waterman, if you guys have seen the other fantastic show, Fresh Meats, he was one of the main writers for most of that show.
really? Oh, that is a good one. I like that.
Do you think he wrote in this one?
You know what? I did not look that up, but if you're a funny person, you contribute. So I imagine he probably had a lot of hands in it.
Oh yeah,
It was probably
He
Waterman.
wrote his own lines for that then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Adam, what'd you think?
What did I think? I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the fact that it was a period piece. However, it was also relatable because, I mean, they
It wasn't a serious.
put a lot of the
period
problems
piece.
that we would have in today's society, and then just overlaid it with ancient Rome. I don't think it was like accurate some of the problems they were having.
Well, no.
Oh, of course not.
No.
I mean, like it was still funny.
Well, I mean-
it was relatable, and that's the biggest part about TV shows. It has to be relatable to you as the viewer.
Well, there's an
Well,
appeal. There's an appeal that has to come with it.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, I think that number one, the first episode is called Orgy, and so like right off the bat, they're dealing with like a big Roman concept, a real big Roman like thing that people think about when they think of Rome, and so they definitely took Roman issues, but then like put them in a situation where if you were in it today, these are the things you would be like arguing with yourself about or dealing with. Which I completely agree. I love that aspect of the show.
Yeah, I think the orgy is a great example because the orgy, it really just turned out to be like a big party. That's like
Yeah.
all it really mattered for the point of the plot. And like trying to get into a big party at a big club, like while I may not have actually tried to do that before, because I'm definitely a pleb myself. That's absolutely something that you can absolutely relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that made it a good show.
Night at the Roxbury, waiting outside the club to get in.
Yeah, exactly.
They had a list, a bouncer, all that stuff.
I will say that I didn't like the character progression of Marcus. I thought he was, well, frankly, a pussy jackass, and he was cunning. And I don't know. I'm not a fan of those types of main characters. I get that it's still
it was a Michael Cera bit for sure.
Yeah, and it was just, especially like a couple of episodes get so cringy, like the one where he was brought the old Legion guy to the
to the workout.
Yeah, that got a little bit.
Oh yeah. No, well, see, but that's one of those things where it's. It's pretty consistent that number one, he has no self-esteem.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Robot-y.
Yeah, you're robot again.
Sorry.
I don't know what we could do about that. Headset or something. The interesting thing about his character being the wimpy gimp that he was, it played into the show, but that's to me where it kind of broke down. Just the show at some point was like cringe on the stance of like these are their baked in characters and it's not going to change. Yeah. So you kind of get the premise.
That all character progression.
What?
That rules out all character progression. I wish that would have had moments
because that's their
stood up for himself.
All right, so hold on, real fast. Point of order, Adam. If Eric's in the middle of saying something, let him finish it, then say it. Don't talk over him because that's just happened twice now.
Okay. You are still a robot.
They're gonna have to deal with it. I don't know what to do.
Okay. But I know Eric didn't watch past the first season, but there's the episode at the end of the second season where Marcus, and spoiler alert, ends up sleeping with both the blonde girl and her slave. You know, like the neighbors.
Yeah.
I thought that was a fantastic episode.
Yeah, me too.
Especially because they tied in the race with it, where it's like first they want to win the race, but then he fucks both of them and he wants them to leave, so he wants them to lose the race. And I thought like you need like the sniveling character to make the comedy for that kind of thing work, because he needs to like be able to sort of play both sides and like have that comedy of like on the outside he has to look like he wants them to win, but inside he wants them to lose. Like if that makes sense.
I agree. I just don't think it should have been the main character.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, it's not the problem that it's the main character. I mean, it's just.
I mean, that was my issue with it. I mean, I don't like it when the sniveling character turns into the main character. Like, that could have easily been Waterman, or it could have been. Actually, I like Grumio too much for him to change. It could have been Stylax, even. But, I mean, I don't know. They could have added a fourth.
I think that's kind of what you need in the show, though.
Was the Sly Truth one.
He turned into my least favorite character because of it. It provided a lot of plot points and interesting situations, but I just didn't like the character by the end of the show.
I don't think you're supposed to like Marcus. I think that's the whole point. Is that he's not a redeemable character. So
you think he's on? Oh no, he's not anti-hero.
He's not an anti-hero. He's just not a good person. You know, and that's the kind of glimpse that you're seeing, is that he puts on a show for everyone. He puts on a show for the Brit. He puts on a show for the Gaul.
Right. Yeah, he's who you don't want to be, because he's going to be the person that just, I mean, and
man of many faces.
Anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. In private, he's a real shit to Grumio.
Yeah.
You know, and they say a real way to kind of get a sense of a person is how they treat someone who's lower in status, and it doesn't get any lower in status than your own slave, and he's a real asshole to him.
Yeah, like the day he took over being a boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's like, I'm gonna do all these great things. One bad thing happens, he fires 7 people.
Yeah. Or the one where they get sick and he's like, oh, I can't afford the medication for you. I'm just gonna do the vigil with the hot girl.
Yeah. Well, I think that also he was more interested in doing the vigil with the hot girl. Not that it was too expensive. It was just that was a better situation for him.
Sure, but that
Fine
demonstrates how much of an
medicine.
asshole he is.
Yeah. No, I mean, he definitely took Romeo as property. You know, it wasn't like I don't have to actually care for this person. It was
Should've
only
went and bought
whenever.
medicine, and then went and did the vigil.
Yeah. So remember about not talking into people's conversation, Adam.
I thought this was a conversation.
Everyone does it.
Well, this is like the third time you've done it. Like I'm in the middle.
Well, you have like really long paragraphs.
You did to Eric twice, so it's not even me.
Eric also has really long
It
paragraphs.
was at the beginning of his sentence. Just wait. You don't have to talk every time.
We're okay.
All right. So, anyways, continuing on. One of the things that I thought was great about it was that they actually made the Gauls the French. Like that was a really clever writing point. I don't know, Jay. Would you agree with that? Because the Gauls are that's ancient France, right?
Yeah, like I don't know if I'd say that was clever. That's just like
I thought it was
consistent.
Well, but they're not
Right.
actually the French people. The Gauls were like a completely different group.
They were the
of people.
forerunners. Like the geographic area of Gaul is now modern France.
Yes, but they weren't like Frenchmen. That's not what they were.
Right, they didn't have that cultural identity yet.
So I like that aspect of it. I thought that was cool.
I thought the Gaulish girl was absolutely fantastically beautiful. I don't know about anybody else.
No, she was gorgeous.
Fun fact about her: actress is actually German.
Really?
Yeah,
Did not
They
know
speak
that.
all the languages over there, don't they?
yeah, it's crazy. Like how they're able to do languages, accents. It's very impressive.
We don't have that. We don't have that here. It's
Not really,
America.
unfortunately.
We just-
Did anybody else get a sense that in the kind of in the third season, it kind of trailed off a little bit? Like it really hit its high notes in the first season, and I was a little bit disappointed in the third.
The Gaul girlfriend was unnecessary. Like I feel like that entire story arc kind of took away from what made the first season so good, in my opinion, was just kind of all the constant struggles. It just became about how do I keep my girlfriend, and then Starlex and Grimmy are off having their adventures. And I agree, you know, Starlex was my favorite character, just because he got himself into so many absolutely ridiculous situations.
Oh yeah,
You know, banging his cousin and then not realizing incest is a bad thing.
that was so funny.
That was
That was
fucked up.
that was pretty funny.
Or the one where he gets the STD. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
probably
my
shouldn't
ass
do this
off.
anymore. Okay, maybe one more time.
Or then his interaction. I love the memos. Oh my god! Whenever he's trying to get people to come to the orgy, he's like, "All right, I'd like to invite all the ladies to an orgy." Oh, that doesn't seem appropriate. Okay, how about this? We're gonna have a cake sale this Friday. Second memo: cake sale's been canceled. Third memo: all those who are interested in the cake sale can come to the orgy. I just that like little glimpse into office life and misusing the memo. I
Yes.
thought that was pretty funny.
It worked though. Like it got people to show up to the orgy. So I mean, hey,
They got his boss to show up to the orgy.
yeah. She was dead. I could not peg her character because I thought she was, you know, like an office slut, but a cougar.
She was a little, yeah. She was a
Oh,
little
yeah.
fire crotch cougar girl.
I think I don't know, but like she wasn't really interested in the main characters except for Starlex. Starlex, she was
Duh.
like,
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, a
She has
cougar.
standards.
Yeah, she's gonna have standards. She's gonna be mature. She's gonna know what she wants. That's what makes her so hot.
She's not going to mess around with a bunch of plebs.
Like just MILF on every definition.
We don't have like we have quote unquote classes in our society, but it's not like a lot of ancient societies that have arisen. You know, like the Hindus, the caste system. You don't ever leave your caste. You know,
Have you been on a
that's
plane
your
lately?
entire life.
Sorry.
Oh my God!
Eric has a good point.
So yesterday, everyone's getting off. It's like a 5-hour flight. Everyone decides that they had to go to the bathroom, and all the plebs decide, I can't use the first class bathroom. I know that they have 2 up there, but oh boy, oh me, I can't use that one. So there's a line of 20 people in the commoner bathroom in the back.
Fuck
But it's like,
that.
guys, this isn't the Titanic. Go use the front bathroom. Anyway,
Like the airline
class
can't
system
stop
exists.
you
Class
from using the
system
bathroom.
exists, but
But the difference is you can pay
don't have-
into that class even if you can't necessarily afford it. Like if you got upgraded to first class on your airplane and you didn't have any money or anything, you're in first class, but you're not a higher class individual in our society.
You could
That's
be
what
a
I-
noble if you could get
But
enough
what
money
is-
back in the day.
There's no such thing as nobles in our society.
I realize that, but
No royalty. Oh, so that's what I'm saying is that
The
those
point you're making-
things are.
getting to that location is the same. It's just money. If you had money back in the day, you could become a noble. All it took was to own land.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Definitely old money and
well,
new
you
money
just
had-
said yourself you could pay to be in that class. Then also, but that doesn't make you that class.
I meant first class as in the airplane.
I know, I got you, but in that statement you said you can pay to be that class, but that doesn't necessarily make you part of that class as a person.
Like
so
the
you
Beverly Hillbillies.
you identify that there is a class system, and that just paying your way into first class doesn't make you necessarily a member of that class.
No, what I'm saying is that's you couldn't buy your way into first class in like in a Hindu society. If you're like at the bottom caste, that's it for life. That you never get to leave that class. It doesn't matter if you create Amazon and make a shit ton of money, you're still at the bottom of the caste system. And so that's what I was trying to get at is, yeah, you could get a lot of money, and in certain societies, you never get out of your class. Our society, we don't have class like that. It is more money based. I agree
I'm
with
curious
you.
if that's isolated just to Hindus, though, because they believe in reincarnation. Because I don't know. of
No, there
other-
have been class systems all throughout.
Yeah, but not where you couldn't grow. Because if you look at
That's how
if you look at
Plebs
the
season
United
3.
Kingdom,
It really tapered off there at the end.
yeah, it did. I mean, I agree that the Gauntlet character, although beautiful and interesting, was kind of unnecessary. And I'm curious if they added her just because they lost the other two girls, whether they had another contract or their time was up. They were doing fantastic.
Yeah, I like
They
the
were
red.
doing fantastic.
She was
And they
good.
could have definitely had a lot of interesting situations after Marcus had screwed both of them.
I definitely like the play on pretty girl with a slave and then main man with a slave. It was just the way that they played that back and forth was really well.
Mhm.
Because her slave had a lot of dignity and was like, I'm just here to help, not like be owned. But the other guy
Yeah.
was pretty much Grumio was essentially a dog.
What's this? Well, it's just General Gray.
Did you get this out of the compost?
Ben. I love that episode.
I think my favorite episode of the series was the Gladiator episode. I think
That was a good one.
That was one of my favorite ones.
That's where
Like-
you really see Marcus being just a total douchebag.
That's definitely Marcus at his worst. That's like when he gets the what was the term he says?
Nobbled.
Nobbled, yeah. It's like
Love
we're
it.
gonna nobble him. And then the British girl, her not understanding that a gladiator is not theater. This is fact real life. That got me. I laughed. So
That was just a
Yeah, that
straight
was
Blonde
pretty
Gibson
good.
moment right there.
Oh gosh.
But
It's a good sitcom. I mean, that's just what it leads up to. So I felt like I saw all the sitcom out of it. Like, oh, it's a what'd you call it, Aaron? A time piece,
A period piece, yeah.
a period piece. I get that. I did like that whole window into that society, but I was over it in 3 episodes.
But you're talking about the nobbling. I loved the silly slang that kind of developed, like the nobbling and now that I'm talking about it, I can't remember the other examples, but damn
Salve
it.
was one.
Somebody's
Oh,
actually
landlord.
Ghoulies. Oh, I loved when they were like
Ghoulies.
debating what ghoulies actually meant.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's good. That's good.
I also
think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I love the music how it completely had nothing to do with Rome,
Yep.
but it absolutely fit the tone of the show as a whole, and as well as like the scenes. I thought the opening music was fantastic. And this show did something that it also had in common with Party Down that I really like, in that they end every episode with playing the music over the last scene, and then it cuts to the credits and continues to play the music. Because it always like it sort of lets you know it's like, hey, like the end is coming, but like there's a good joke coming.
Yeah.
And
like
it's
the
just
transitioning to the end instead of just cutting
yeah.
off.
And it's just like I felt like I knew every time that I started to hear the like I came, I saw, I conquered. I was like, oh, this is gonna be funny. And Party Down also does the same thing with its theme song, and like I think that's a mark of a good show with good timing.
Mm-hmm.
There
It's
were a
good
lot of
writers.
well-timed jokes in this show.
So, okay, Eric, you didn't like the show. What would make the show better? What is it that could change in the show that would make it more palatable? Just less cringe?
I think Adam kind of hit it earlier. Just the type of show that it is locks the characters into their traits, and then you just see their traits put into situation A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, but they're going to respond the same way every time. There was no real like character progression where where maybe now Stylark is the buffoon or something. I mean, they had their situations, but I don't know. I guess in that sense, that's how we all are. We don't really progress, and we
That's not
respond the same. But it just felt really repeating, like redundant by episode 4.
Well,
Go ahead,
sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna throw out here that I've heard it referred to as Starlax and Strilax so far.
Well, I've messed up. So
His name is Stylax. But I will admit that I thought his name was Copier. I'm sorry, I thought his name was Shredder at the beginning, like the villain from Ninja Turtles. Because that's what Flavia, the boss, keeps just referring to him as Shredder, and I didn't get that was his job. I thought that he was just named Shredder.
Yeah, no, she's just being insulted.
Eurystices.
Right.
Joel Fry. Oh, his name is Fry? That's cool. I would now like to formally introduce Futurama as the next series that we watch in its entirety.
No.
Wow.
Your response pains me enough, so never mind.
I love
Futurama.
I like Futurama. I don't want to do a whole like series on it.
Let's
and
watch
after
MASH.
that, we can do all 500 episodes of Doctor Who. Like that'll be
If you guys want, I'll start recommending some
The Simpsons.
anime.
Look, how about this?
Simpsons.
let's just watch what's the Johnny Depp vampire movie, Jay?
Johnny Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadows. Dark
What?
Shadows.
That's
has
awful.
Has something like 10,000 episodes or something like that. Let's watch that.
Johnny Depp has 10,000 episodes or something?
No. The
The
movie is
old
based off
soap opera that the movie was based off of. Like apparently the first 3 seasons don't even have anything supernatural. The show is about to get canceled, and they like rewrote it, and it like went on for like 20 more years.
I mean, if you want to talk about episode length, let's just go watch Days of Our Lives.
Oh God! I can tell that you watch TV with your mom.
Or Grandma. Grandma.
Well, I mean, just to be
These are the
fair,
days
I
of our
recognize that because I had to sit there and watch it with my mom too.
Yep. You know
But
the pain.
I know Stefano and how he keeps freaking coming back. How does Stefano not die?
I don't know,
Alright.
man.
No, the other show that we need to watch, that I personally need to watch, is Dallas, because everywhere I go, everyone's like, "Oh, Ewing! Oh, and you're from Dallas! Oh man, you know that show Dallas?" I'm like, ugh.
I can't say I have any idea what you're talking about.
I never put that together. That's funny.
Really?
No.
Well, I'd almost appreciate it at this point.
So I grew up in Wiley, which is a suburb of Plano, between Wiley and Plano is the area where they filmed Dallas, South Fork.
Yeah.
So if you want to just go out there and just see it, we can just go out there and be like, oh yeah, I've seen Dallas.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, South Fork Ranch. Oh yeah.
I had my prom at South Fork Ranch.
A lot of people had their problem.
See, this just keeps
Plano.
coming around to haunt me, and I'm like, oh, I just need to watch the whole show so I can say, oh, who shot JR?
There's a remake. There's a remake of Dallas. They redid it like 5 years
On like
ago.
TNT.
Yeah. It was like a TNT remake of Dallas.
Yeah.
Another show that we could kind of put on the docket. It's too long to watch all the seasons, but the first season definitely. Blacklist. Don't know if
Really?
you've seen that. Yeah, Blacklist is good. I love James Spader. Oh my god, all of his roles are so good. Also, if we're talking about James Spader, Boston Legal. At least the first season, solid show.
Sure.
Well, your ideas are heard and registered in the far back of my mind.
I mean, I probably judged it too harshly and too quickly, but I watched the pilot of The Blacklist, and it felt like they were trying too hard to make it appeal to everyone. So it was like, it's an exciting spy show, but also she wants to have a baby with her boyfriend. I was like, I don't care. I
just found that to be too trudgy. It was too trudgy for me.
I solely watch it for James Spader.
I
know he's probably going to step back.
I love James Spader.
I got into the second season, and there just was it's an interesting formula, but they even became too formulaic with their own formula. It was just like, all right, here we go, do it again. And yeah, James Spader is phenomenal, but I don't know how he can save the 75% rest of the show. Yeah. That was my general problem with.
Because he gives 175% in every acting thing he does.
Yeah, but that's still 75% under 100% of the show. So,
that is your opinion.
When Adam started talking, he said, "Oh, because we're watching this one next, I already started watching it." So what are we watching next?
We had discussed in the chat Party Down, and everyone was like, "Cool." Party Down's on Hulu. It is a Showtime original series, right?
Yes.
I think that's when it originally aired. It's got just a copious amount of comedians in it. It's got Ben from Parks and Rec. What's the guy's real name?
Adam Scott.
Adam Scott. He's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the girl from Masters of Sex. Isn't that her?
Yeah, Lizzie Kaplan.
Lizzie Kaplan. It's got a bunch of people that are really funny.
Jane Lynch, Megan Mullally.
Who's the guy? The boss.
I don't know his name. He was in like Party of Five.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff.
But like every episode, they also have fantastic guest stars. Like J.K. Simmons is in a couple of them, and he's hilarious because he's such an asshole.
Yes, he is. That's the guy who played J. Jonah Jameson, right?
Yeah. In the stupid farmers ads.
Yep. We are farmers. Dum, 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 dum.
Yeah.
Okay, so overall, let's give our ratings for. Jay, is there anything about Plebs that you would change? Is there anything
that I would change
to make it a better show? We kind of talked about this with Orville.
So, I didn't. This is a little bit nitpicky, but I was very put off and annoyed by the transitions where it'd go PLEBS and then it would do it again. Mm-hmm. And that just might be a function of the way that it was produced and broadcast.
For commercials.
Yeah, like I thought it was distracting. I didn't really like it. But otherwise, I wouldn't kill off any of the characters. I really liked it all. Maybe a little bit more of the landlords because I liked him. But otherwise, great show. Loved it.
I think the one thing that I would change is the Gallic girlfriend. That should have been like a 2-episode thing and then done. It should have been just kind of Marcus screwing it up and moving on. But I do agree with Adam and Eric on this. I would like to see progression, like some type of advancement in challenging these characters to become more than where they started. That's one of the things I love about Trailer Park Boys. Trailer Park Boys is a long-running sitcom. It's those personalities in certain situations, but I don't think anyone who's watched the entire series can say that there hasn't been character development with characters. So it's very possible to take someone who is not a super desirable person in a role and have them develop traits and stuff like that that are good or admirable or positive and still be funny and ridiculous at the same time.
May I have a moment to play devil's advocate on that point?
Sure, do it.
I would disagree and say that for a sitcom, it's actually better, if not best, that there is no growth and there is no change. And I would offer up 2 shows as an example of this. A show with no growth that's great, Seinfeld. The mantra of that show for the writers was no hugging, no changing. At the end of every episode, like they've all gotten themselves in these horrible situations and they learn nothing, and it's great. To contrast that, I would put up How I Met Your Mother, a show where the characters changed dramatically due to their experiences, and it turned into an awful show.
But I loved How I Met Your Mother, and I even enjoyed the last season. So I would disagree with that assessment. I do like that the characters developed and progressed into their life.
It's almost.
But
I mean, just to say for the format, it almost just helps that type of format to where you can just pick up any episode at any point in time and get a good sense of what the show is about.
Well, what about this? Can I say this about Seinfeld? It's George that's the terrible human being. Okay? Seinfeld has redeemable qualities. He's not the greatest, but he does have redeemable qualities. I don't think we can point to any real redeemable qualities with George Costanza. So I think that the problem here with Plebs is that Marcus is George, and he never
not
progresses.
Seinfeld.
He's not Seinfeld. Now, this is interesting because Curb Your Enthusiasm is by far one of my favorite shows of all time. And I don't know, would you, Adam, from what you've been watching, would you say that Larry David progresses at all?
Yes, but not greatly. It's definitely some minor and subtle changes. But keep in mind that the show is also based very much on his real life. So, I mean, if there wasn't change, I would find it slightly disturbing.
Well, maybe it's not the lack of progression. Maybe it's just the cloud they decide to stay on. Like, there doesn't have to be. Well, we're talking about how lack of progression is almost symbiotic with the format of a sitcom in general. The whole point of a sitcom is for you just to kick back at 9:30 at night and then throw on your favorite show and then just turn your brain off.
Because perfect example, James just mentioned, How I Met Your Mother. That's a sitcom and has all the progression in the world.
Well, I'm thinking like Fresh Prince. Like I could watch Fresh Prince, and I'm always going to watch Will Smith in like a funny scenario that I want to see Will Smith react to.
Mm-hmm.
But because I've figured out who the characters were in Plebs so fast, I don't want to sit there and watch what kind of situations they're going to respond to because I don't like the character. I think that's what it was. Well, this has been an interesting sidebar to talk about the progression of what it exactly was that I didn't like about it. But I think it was just in general, I didn't like the characters. And then at that, I didn't like watching their characters repeat themselves.
Yeah.
I love Starlax. I love Grumio. I love the landlord.
Stylax.
I'm not going to say it any other way, but
Starlax. It sounds like the Guardian of the Galaxy guy.
Star-Lord.
Marcus, I didn't like as a person, but I love the situations he got himself into.
Oh yeah, because he always the awkward things that came up to haunt him were always his own doing, and that's what made it funny.
It's all because of his conniving aspect of his personality.
So, Aaron, what would you rate the show? What are we doing out of 5 out of 10?
We did out of 10 last time.
We did out of 10 last time.
Out of 10.
Yeah. Would you like to hear your Orville ratings for a benchmark, or do you just want to go?
Sure.
Okay. So Aaron scored the Orville as a 7.0.
Okay.
We're all around 7.
Let's see. Eric gave it a 6.
Discuss that real quick. No, that's not.
Eric gave it a 6. Adam gave it a 6.5, and I also gave it a 6.
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna give Plebs out of 10. I'm gonna give it I'm gonna give it a 7. It was an enjoyable sitcom. It was funny. It caught my interest. It was creative. It wasn't just a basic sitcom. They could have done this entire show in Britain with no, ancient Rome or anything, and done pretty close to the exact same show. So I thought that creativity was good. So I'm going to go with a 7. I'm happy with that number.
All right, Eric.
I would not call Rome creativity, but I'll give the show a 4, maybe a 3.5, but I'll give it a 4.
All right, Adam.
I'm gonna go with 5.5. The lack of
5.5.
Lack of character progression and the general style of at least Marcus was a huge drawback for me. Even though there were funny episodes, I couldn't. I struggled through season 3.
Grumio
I
made the
struggled
show.
to keep interest through season 3, and if it wasn't for this podcast, I would have stopped. I mean,
All right.
that's just what I think.
If
When,
it wasn't for this podcast, I wouldn't have watched season 1.
well, that's kind of the
Isn't it
well, that's
the whole
kind of the thing that I had behind this podcast is that I want to.
No, it's great.
At least
It's
for
great.
myself, I want to watch shows that I wouldn't
I
normally watch.
enjoyed watching it for sure.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to be the lone wolf here, and I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
And
when I was 1 point underneath you.
There you go. When Aaron and I were talking about the show a couple of weeks ago, I think I might have used the phrase "this show's on my Mount Rushmore of Britcoms." And I watched it through most of them again since that time, and I think I might walk that back a little bit. I like it; it's a good show. I don't know if I'd put it up with the best, but it's right down my alley. This is exactly the kind of show that I like.
It's not Black Books.
So for Black Books, are you going to give Black Books like a 9.8? Like
Black Books is the 10 for me.
No.
Like for me, I'd say Peep Show because that's me. That's my baby. I'd give Peep Show 10.
I put Peep Show there at 9.59.
Without seeing Peep Show, I would make Peep Show a sitcom about neighboring apartment complexes that share very close balconies. This is all of Vancouver.
So your daily life?
No, go to Vancouver or Toronto. Everyone's just looking at each other through their windows.
All right.
Did they apologize immediately?
No, it's just kind of everyone's a creep.
Do you have like a pad and paper you can like send messages and be like, hey, like I'm about to jack it?
I'm sure you could get one.
Hey, you think you could close your window or not look over here for 20 minutes?
I don't have curtains and I'm about to masturbate.
What you do is you get really creepy with it. You sit right in front of the window, and then if they just keep watching, I mean, that's a whole different.
That's what I would think Peep Show would be, just to bring it back around.
The Peep Show is actually Jay. You give it the spiel. It's your show.
Peep Show it's a sitcom about like two guys who live together that are kind of opposite personalities. But the gimmick about it is that everything is done. Every camera angle is always first person, so you're always in somebody's eyes, and it gives it a lot of creativity where they do bits where say one character is talking to another, and you hear the main characters, you hear their internal monologue, and sometimes that monologue it's over what the person they're talking to is saying. So they've been thinking about how they're going to respond, and they haven't heard what the other person said, and so they're like, "Oh shit, you got to cover." And,
cool.
You know, it's absolutely something that I can identify with myself.
Same.
Yeah. It's a great show.
You mean it's relatable?
It's
Absolutely.
it is very cringy.
Oh yes, like the most awkward situations on television.
That In-Betweeners. I don't know. In-Betweeners is close. Close second for one of the cringiest shows I've ever seen in my life.
Like if I really did fill out my Mount Rushmore, it'd probably be Peep Show, In-Betweeners. There's a show I like a lot called Chef, and Chef is wonderful. And then, oh man, number 4 is tough. Maybe Black Books or IT Crowd.
Moving on to a slightly different genre. Have you guys ever heard of a show called Legend of the Seeker? I think it's also BBC.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good show. In my opinion, got canceled early, but worth checking out. It's very fantasy based. Also, in that line is Merlin. Merlin's solid.
Well, let's talk about what we want to watch. We've already done that, I guess.
Well, we're gonna.
It's only 2 seasons. It's only 2
Yeah,
seasons.
it's real short. It'll be really
20-minute episodes.
February. It's a good one. It's a really solid show all around. So I'm excited.
Whose suggestion was it?
It was Jay's.
I'll put it in. But I've got the list here that we made last year. I'll just go through it real fast. But we said Mixology, Community, The Mick, Atlanta, The Good Place, Jean-Claude Van Johnson, The Get Down, Chickens, Mindhunter, MASH, Riverdale, Unspecified Anime, Mirai Milka.
Nikki.
Yeah, that one. The Leftovers, Blasted Tempest, and Fargo.
I have to double down on Mixology for the next watch. It's such a good, all-encompassing single-off series.
I really want to see the Jean-Claude Van Damme show. Now that you've reminded me, that's gonna be hilarious.
Okay. Well, shall we set the podcast for Party Down to be, you want to say 2 weeks from now? Last weekend in February?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Okay, so that'll be the 25th?
So, yeah, it looks like the 25th. I'm gonna be tight pressed to watch all of it, but I'll do the best I can.
I mean, there's only, I think there's 16 episodes, maybe.
Where do we watch this? Hulu?
Hulu. Yeah. Half hour episodes.
Adam, we can watch a couple today too. Just kind of burn a couple.
Okay.
Rest.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I remember where I'm at.
Well, gents, we've had another successful show review. I guess our average though, so we have a 3, a 5.5, a 7, and an 8. Like a 6.
Around 6.
I gave it a 4.
Yeah, I've got Eric as a 4.
Okay.
It's probably a
I
6.
enjoyed watching it.
So overall, the show club gave it a 6.
I just
So
had to give it some headroom.
If anyone ever gives a listen to this, and you find this show Plebs on the internet,
we also gave the Orville a 6.
We also gave an Orville a 6. So far, if the next show gets a 6, then this is
Well, I'm
bad.
I'm glad I kept the average below beating Orville, because if Plebs beat Orville, I'd be very sorely disappointed.
Wow. See, I would go the other way. I'd be very disappointed if we rated Orville above Plebs, but
well, there
I
we
think
go.
that's the
You're
point of
both
this
happy.
discussion here.
That's funny. Well, I'm glad we're both not disappointed then.
Beautiful.
All right, well, gents, let's sign off. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
And next week
The
for
show club.
Star Trek.
All right. See. Oh, what?
Star Trek. What?
Star Trek.
That was supposed to be the end, guys, and it was just like leave everyone on a what? But you ruined it.
Well, you can always cut it.
How about this? We'll all just say what simultaneously.
We're not going to edit this.
We're not.
On 1, 3, 2, 1. What?
What?
Show tunes.
Wow, that was not simultaneous at
Did you say
all.
show tunes?